Hello and welcome to Copy That, the new series from Quadcast that's all about copywriting. I'm your host Lewis, and today I'm joined by Amy Hawthorne to talk all things copy. Amy, thanks so much for being here. It's great to have you on.
No worries. Thank you, Lewis.
So I'm really excited for our conversation today, so I want to get kicked off with the thing that I ask everybody, which is how did you get into copywriting?
I feel like other copywriters would probably answer this in a similar sort of way, but it was kind of by accident. So what did I do? After uni, I actually went to get my first grad job at a chemical manufacturing plant, which is quite random, as a marketing assistant there. But because I've always kind of done writing, I've always just been interested in that since I was a kid. The writing side of it was the side that I kind of obviously just kind of did a little bit more of. And then I was there for a year or two. And then I went traveling for a good 2 years. So I just went a bit rogue and completely didn't do any copywriting for a while. Just worked in bars and traveled around Asia, Australia, things like that. And then when I was settled in Melbourne for a few years, I started being okay, now I need to get back into actually working. And then when I was looking on Indeed or whatever it is they've got over there, I kept finding stuff like jobs for copywriters, and I was like, what the hell is a copywriter? I had no idea. And then applied to one anyway and ended up going for an interview at a smaller digital agency over there as a copywriter. And then, that's how I got into it, really.
That's amazing. I mean, that is I feel like you say most copywriters have a similar answer. That is the first I've heard where it was, I was traveling and I was in Australia and it's like,
just music job.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's one of the most unique stories I've heard so far. That's really cool.
Okay, cool.
I love that. So what kind of company was it that you worked for first?
Yeah, so I worked for a small digital agency that was just all very SEO kinds of pages. Right. Just that's where I got introduced to keywords, and I was like, what on earth is this? And then someone from there kind of approached me for another agency in Melbourne, which was way big. It's huge now, actually, that one. So yeah, then I went over to that agency. That's actually, if you're interested, that's how I became a freelancer, because I had to leave Australia in, I think it was 2020.
Yeah.
And the agency, basically, to keep me on, they were like, well, why don't you start freelancing for us?
Okay.
So that's how I set up my freelance business.
Wow, that's really interesting. So because most people that I've spoken with, the freelancing came from either COVID kind of put them in a position where they had to, or it was a case of they'd been made redundant and they thought, I'm just going to do it and take the leap. So they encouraged you to do so.
Yeah. So, yeah. And it was probably helpful as well, because it was kind of an easy little bridge over to freelance. And it wasn't I just became a freelancer and then I was where do I get all these clients from? It was I started with a client. And I think when you work in the agency kind of space, it just gives you a good head start anyway, because everyone there is starting their own business or starting their own agency. And then you're kind of the go-to copywriter because you've already worked with them. So that's kind of how I started out.
That's amazing. So, I mean, that's great then that they're already used to how you work. So I imagine, so you had to go from Melbourne, I assume, back to the UK. Was it COVID? Was it a COVID related, needed to come back, or visa?
Yeah, COVID, visa, all sorts of things. All kinds of happens at once. Because of COVID, there was no way of getting a new sponsorship or anything like that. So back to Liverpool.
Obviously, you mentioned that kind of you fell into this as a sort of happy accident, but was there a moment while you were doing it where you thought, yes, this is what I'm going to do and I'm happy with this?
I think copywriting has just always come quite naturally to me. I actually am that cliche. When I was a kid, I just constantly was writing all stupid books in my notebook. Always wanted to be a writer, I suppose, but I think I had all these ideas that I was going to be this novelist.
Yeah, I had quite a similar experience, really. So, I mean, for me, it was always I thought I was going to go into writing plays or writing scripts or something, because that was what I was really drawn to at school. And then that very quickly turned into, actually, no, I don't want to write them. I want to write about them. And then I kind of fell into a copywriting job after uni, and now here we are, 6 years later. But it's it's just interesting then to hear how everybody's writing is a really natural thing to a lot of people, and I think us creatives are all kind of very similar in the sense that it's it just comes naturally to us. And so I'm just wondering, when you are writing, do you feel that you have some kind of a natural voice? Do you have a specific tone of voice that you tend to write in? And how do you adapt that when you're writing for clients?
I probably do. I feel like my natural voice is, it's probably quite like sarcastic and dry.
I'm the same. Mine tends to be, I've got quite a sardonic sort of feel to me.
That is just like what comes naturally to me. And I use quite a lot of like humor and stuff in my own copy. And I think that's what draws a lot of clients to me, because they're like, it's not going to be like dull. And like usually clients come to me because they're happy to be a little bit risque, I suppose. So yeah, I'd say that's my like sort of default. But then I write for millions of different industries, so I can kind of switch if need be. I have written for like finance or for just everything, where like humor or that kind of voice is not really relevant. But yeah, I'd say if it was just me like journaling or something, that's kind of what it would sound like.
The voice that you'd write in. So have you got, so obviously saying that you write in all kinds of different industries, are there any types of industries where you really think, yeah, this is kind of where I thrive, or your kind of more natural voice thrives?
Probably like lifestyle brands, I'm going to say. Or what I also get the most enjoyment out of is like if it's a new or a small business.
Yeah.
And the founder is like trying to compete against all these massive brands who are already established, they've already got their own voice. So when they come to me and they're like, okay, I actually need to find a way to stand out, and usually we do that through tone of voice. I think that's what comes most naturally to me, because they usually give me the freedom then to be a little bit out there.
That's a really valuable thing then, because if they're allowing you, like, not necessarily free reign, but happy to like let you go off and do what you do best, then it's going to make you feel more creatively inspired to get on with something and to write the best piece of work that you can really write for them, which is great. I mean, that's the idea at the end of the day, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And you're not like in a box, you're not second guessing every line. Are they going to like this? Are they not going to like it? You just think, okay, well, I'm going to write what I think is going to work. And then obviously they might not accept every single line, but if you know that they trust you, it just gives you a little bit more freedom to kind of, I think, to do your best work.
Yeah, definitely. That trusting relationship between client and, freelance agency, whoever, their copywriter, the person that they're employing for this, that's really, really important. And, but it's great if they're enjoying your tone of voice and they're happy to let you go off and do what you want. That's amazing. So my next question following on from that then would be, how will you usually get started on a piece?
Usually, so I have like a big chat with the client. Obviously it depends on what the piece is, but just say it's like a brand voice development and website copy project. I do like a huge workshop with the client and find out everything, like the differentiators, what sort of the brands that they like, which usually I look at brands that aren't in their industry, because I think, well, we're not just going to copy them, but they might, I don't know. For example, I did a brand voice project last year, or maybe even the year before, and the client did these really extravagant, over-the-top, like fancy events. So we took inspiration from things like just other over-the-top things, like the Great Gatsby, Wicked the musical, Paris as a city, things like that. So I like to sort of draw parallels to random things that aren't anything to do with the actual industry. So this is where I start to get all my inspiration, usually. And then I'll just get it out on a pen and paper. Mind map things, and then I'll start bringing in like tools to look at idioms, or I'll even watch certain programs or listen to certain songs and see if I can pull out lyrics or phrases from characters, anything like that. And then so that usually gets the juices flowing, and then I'll tend to then structure it into what it needs to be.
That's really interesting. It's like finding inspiration from like not random places, but like, I don't even want to say throwing things at the wall, but it's hoping like I'm going to find all of these things that are semi-related, hope that something is going to inspire you from that pile of things, and then going on from that. That's a really interesting way of work. I've never done that before.
Yeah,
I might steal that idea.
You get a very unique voice as well when you do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Sort of bringing all these things together, and then the brand voice you create is just at the middle of everything.
Yeah.
So it's always relevant to the audience, or what they want to be as a brand.
I really like that. I am going to steal that idea. I'm not going to claim it as my own, but I am going to steal that. Because something that I tend to find not hard, but something that I'm kind of combating myself with is having this idea that like my writing is kind of getting a little bit repetitive in some places, especially if I do like a certain amount of work for a certain client too many times in a month. So do you find that kind of, your way of getting creative when you're starting on a piece, does that help you keep your work fresh? Does it help you avoid repetition? How do you find that?
Yeah, it probably does help, but I think it also helps that I have such a wide range of clients and projects. So it's not like, this is one reason why I haven't really niched down, because I feel like if I was doing the same thing over and over, it would be then hard to keep coming up with fresh ideas. Like, I really applaud people just work in one sort of industry and they manage to come up with new ideas all the time. I'm like, where are these coming from? But yeah, a bit of that, a bit of just looking at work that's already out there that's really good. Like, I'm always adding to my swipe file. So if I'm feeling like I need some fresh ideas, I think just looking at stuff that's already really good helps. Not even to get inspiration or to use like a structure or anything like that, but it's just to be like, okay, this is what's possible. So, you can actually go and create something that's really cool.
Yeah.
The bar, like, this is where the bar is type of thing.
Have you found that there's been a project that's really pushed you out of your comfort zone?
Again, it's probably certain industries that have pushed me out of my comfort zone a little bit more. When I first started freelancing, I think that's when everyone was obsessed with like NFTs and crypto and stuff.
Yeah.
And I had a client who actually used to own one of the agencies I used to work at, funnily enough, who got massively into crypto. And then that meant I had to get massively into crypto. So obviously, but it's just a big learning curve. Like, there's so much weird technology. I had to learn all about blockchain technology, how NFTs worked. And like, I just became that nerd that knew all these things. So I guess that kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone. And then more recently, the end of last year, I did some website copy for an agency in London. Actually, they do like talent matching for like Instagram stars and TikTok stars and things like that. Like, they get them jobs, but they're also a marketing agency, like social media marketing agency. But they are very cool. They're like very Gen Z. And like, the actual project itself was fine. Like, I do a lot of website copy for agencies and things, but I did have to keep texting my sister, because she's only 16, to be like, does this sound cool? Do I sound cringy? Like, because I was like, I can't make a show of myself here.
So if there's work that is pushing you out of your comfort zone, obviously there's ways of working around that. But I'm wondering, how are you able to stay motivated if work gets particularly tough, or if there is a project that, is, you're happy to do it, but there's an element of, oh, this is maybe a little bit too far out of my comfort zone here?
Yeah, I think I'm motivated to sort of keep doing the work, even if it gets hard, is just, I think the hardest thing about staying motivated when you're a freelancer, it's not when the work's hard, it's when the work is dry.
Yeah.
When you haven't got much work, I think that's when it's harder to stay motivated, especially if you've got like, say, a lead that looks promising, you've been speaking to them for a while, and then they ghost at the last second, and you're thinking, God, I needed that one, or it kind of feels a bit like a never-ending battle. I think that's when it's the hardest to stay motivated. I have a schedule each week where I follow up. Say I have like Monday where I do like warm pitches on LinkedIn. Tuesday I'll do like cold pitches. One day is just follow-ups, or getting in touch with old clients or anything. I've got it all on the Trello board, and if I ever get quiet or things are difficult, I'll just go to that board and like just keep going, or focus on something completely different, like maybe sign up for like a certain course to upskill, because I think if you get another way then at looking at the work that you do. So I think, for example, last year or the year before, I did a level C brand strategy course when things were quiet at work, and it just really helped to just give me a new perspective, a bit more energy about what I was doing. It sort of gives you like a bit more of a love again. I think that's important, to just keep kind of upskilling, or you do get stagnant and you do get bored.
I feel like, as you say, taking on a new course, that's so important, because this industry is changing every day so quickly, and it can be really hard to keep up with it. And, especially with new technologies that are coming in, and the constant threat that we seem to be under that, chat GPTs are going to take all of our jobs, which, everybody has an opinion on it. And this is the usual part of each episode where I ask a guest, what are your takes on AI tools in copywriting?
I am kind of, anti AI when it comes to the writing. Like I'm like just close ChatGPT. Like if you're doing any writing or even sort of idea generation, I just think it's too easy to get lazy because it's just there. If you do the work, the idea generation and the connecting certain dots, like what I was saying before about all the different industries and finding inspiration in weird places, or even just from your actual human experiences and conversations that you've had and things like that. That's the best bit. Like that's the stuff I enjoy. It's the hard, but it's also the hardest stuff because that's where the actual idea comes from. But when you do that, that's when you get something good. So I think people need to not use AI to try and get ideas, or definitely to do the writing because you can just spot it a mile away. Research, yeah, I don't mind it for research. I sometimes use it a bit as kind of a search engine, but sometimes it just completely lies. Like
Yeah.
I've used it to pull out. I was doing research and I had these huge, they were like medical sort of journals to work through. So I basically gave ChatGPT the link and said, "Can you pick out, the key points?" And it was picking out points, and I was thinking that doesn't sound right. And then whenever I was looking at the journal myself, it was completely making them up. And then I'd say to ChatGPT, "What are you on about? Like that? It doesn't say that." And it'd go, "Oh yeah, you're right." So I think even the research thing, you end up doing a lot of it yourself anyway.
Yeah.
It may get better, but yeah, I'm like, yeah, for research, but that's where I stop it. Like,
yeah. For everything else, it's
yeah.
I see. I'm exactly the same. I'm a big absolute no when it comes to doing any sort of copywriting. I don't think it's a tool that belongs there. And I think the ultimate way to look at at ChatGPT and AI in general is that it is a tool, not a replacement. And it's a tool that can be used to make your job just that little bit easier in terms of, I like to use it every now and then for like, can you just do a quick proofread of this? Like, can you pick up on any spelling mistakes that I haven't seen on my third read through, just in case? Say if I'm researching like a heavy piece on something that I don't really know a lot about, I'll say, can you point me in the right direction of like X, Y, Z topic things? Can you pick out a couple of books? Can you pick out a couple of articles? Can you pick out anything that I can go and read to really learn about it? But I always recommend ask it to check its sources. Ask it to give you its sources. Never, never just take its word for it, because
just pull it out of its robot bump sometimes.
there are so many gaps in its knowledge, and when it doesn't know something, it makes it up.
Yeah.
And it's even the same thing. Don't ask it for a recipe, because I've done that before, and it will tell you to put things in it that shouldn't be in it. Like I made this is like so off tangent, but like, so I made Toad in the Hole the other night, right? And
Nice.
I normally I hadn't made any like massive Yorkshire puddings for a while, and I'd forgotten the recipe, so I quickly ChatGPT'd it, and it told me to use like way too many eggs. And I was like, oh no, this isn't right. This just isn't right. So like I Googled it and I found the right recipe. But it's making sure that I don't want to use it's making sure that you're not using ChatGPT for an easy and quick answer when it would take you 5 seconds longer to just Google something.
Yeah.
But I think because we live in a world now that instant gratification is like the be all and end all, and everyone's constantly chasing like a quick dopamine hit, it's so quick and easy to just type into it, I need this, please do it for me right this very second, and it'll do it, and it'll chuck it out to you. And that's that. Okay, I can move on with my day. But the accuracy in it isn't 100%. And
Exactly.
that's so important in the work that we do. Accuracy is very important, especially if you're working on some kind of opinion piece. Let it be your own opinion. Don't ask a robot for its opinion. It hasn't got one.
Yeah,
It doesn't have one.
Trains on everyone else's opinions.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna say what everyone else says. I think what people like about it for the research part of any project is the answers are a lot more like personalized and tailored than what you can get if you look through Google. But then you've also got like the ethics side of things, and it uses so much more energy than a Google search. So you've got to think about that as well. I know like these shortcuts, like someone's got to pay for them. It's usually the planet.
Yeah.
So things like that, like I think people need to just tone it back a little bit, like stop getting so excited about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting, the whole ethics conversation. I mean, Meta's data stores now, their data stores are in a small town somewhere in South America, not South America, but the south of North America. I saw something the other day, and it was a TV interview that somebody had done that lives there, and it's like their water pressure is just awful, and there's constantly dirt in their water, and there's constantly all of these things because the water's being siphoned to the data centers to cool everything down because so many people are using meta-based AI. It's awful for the planet. It's terrible for the environment. And yet nobody seems to want to do anything about that because it's too easy and convenient. It's too quick and easy to just type it into ChatGPT.
I also don't know if the average person who isn't in the marketing industry is aware, because obviously we all talk about these things on LinkedIn all day, every day. But I don't know if someone who isn't in our industry would even realise how bad it was.
One of my favourite examples, which I've said many times across these episodes, and I'm going to say it again now, is I was looking up a film production website, just blogs that I normally read and just keep up to date with film production news. And it was an article it was a listicle that was entirely written in ChatGPT. And you could tell because all of the headings, nothing was in sentence case, everything was capitalized. It was heading, a little bit of text, and then a bullet pointed list, and then repeat all the way down. And you can tell. And then there's the signifiers like starting a piece of copy with in the world of, in the landscape of, in the fast-paced world of da 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 da. And as well, the punctuation side of things. It loves an Oxford comma. It loves a semicolon. It loves a dash. And I'm just wondering, because I've found that I'm doing this more and more and more every day, but I'm policing a hell of a lot more what I'm writing about, what the punctuation that I'm using, how I'm forming sentences, because I don't want the perception of my work to be, this is clearly AI generated. And I'm just wondering, have you found that you're policing yourself or editing yourself a lot more than you would have done previously?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's the whole punctuation thing, like you say. It's the freaking M dashes.
Yeah.
This whole debate is actually really annoying because I love an M dash.
Me too.
And now I'm like, does it look ChatGPT? But sometimes they're just more relevant. Yeah, I like an Oxford comma.
Yeah.
I do a bit, but I'd rather choose whatever makes the most sense for a sentence rather than the people going to think this is AI. Because I think you can tell by the rest of the sentence that it's not, usually. And I also think people are quite enjoying when copy isn't polished and perfect. Because it just stands out a little bit more then. It feels more human and it's not AI.
AI strives for that perfect intersection of it's so generic, but it's also so polished. And I just don't think the two of those really go hand in hand. It's got a real sort of corporate, not even vanilla flavor to it. It's ChatGPT's favorite flavor of ice cream is plain.
It actually is. I've seen as well, a few people have tried to get it to speak in a certain style, and it's just the cringiest thing ever. I got ChatGPT to do that Gen Z website copy. Oh my god, it'd just be.
That would be.
I might actually do that.
That's the basis for a stand-up comedy routine, I feel.
Yeah, it would be slay this, slay that. I don't even know what else they say, but it would just be cringy. It stands out a mile.
It's when you try and get it to write in a specific tone of voice, it just can't do it because it lacks that sort of nuance that we have as people. It's striving for perfection, and that's just not an interesting construct to try and do because people aren't going to want to read that. Obviously, if you're sat down to read a novel, you want it to be edited to a point where. I feel like us as writers, we're more likely to pick up on certain punctuation things, or I don't know that I'd have written this in that way, or that feels a bit clunky, or that feels a little bit light. Say if you're sat down to read a novel, you want it to have that sort of polish to it because you paid for this piece of work, and you want to get good value for your money. You don't want to sit there annoyed at it.
Or anything.
Yeah. Whereas if I'm reading something on a website for free, I don't need it to be perfect. I'm not striving for perfection from that. I might sit there and have my own opinion on, I wouldn't have written this like that. But at least I can then understand, hey, actually, this was written by a person. This is something that, they were probably incredibly proud of that they wrote. And I'm fine with that. That's fine to me.
You appreciate it more. And that's another thing, I think, especially if you're in the creative industry, if you're expecting people to read what you've done, then you've got to do it.
Yeah.
I think otherwise, use your brain, use your experience. I think you can't expect people to take the time to read anything if you couldn't even be bothered to write it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also, for anybody out there that is writing with ChatGPT, get it to write it and then read it back yourself and just understand that this is not, the tone of this is too robotic. It's too trying to be perfect. It's too plastic. It's just not authentic. It's not real. It's not engaging enough.
Yeah.
And just read it back. Try and understand it from that point of view. That's my advice.
No, I get when people, if they're like a one-person business and they're not a copywriter, I get the attraction if they can't afford a copywriter. I do get it, but it doesn't mean I agree with it.
Yeah, no, there are certain instances where I could, like a small business that it's a startup, you do you, do it. But also,
if you got no money,
okay,
maybe.
Yeah, maybe then in those certain instances. But, there are a lot of copywriters out there. There's a huge proliferation of copywriters. We'll all be happy to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously me and you, we work as copywriters. We do this day to day. And there's constantly this, as I say, there's this proliferation of copywriters and everybody's constantly on the come up. And so I'm wondering, of everything that you know, of everything you've learned, is there anything that you feel that newer copywriters need to hear?
This is probably boring, but I'd say you've got to do the work. And I would say one thing I don't know if I agree with is when copywriters come straight out of uni and they go straight to freelance jobs.
Yeah.
I know it works for some people and they go on to be successful and things like that. But I feel like you need to go to an agency, ideally, or maybe in-house, but ideally an agency, because then you're surrounded by other copywriters and, obviously people who can sort of mentor you a little bit. Because I think if you're going straight to freelance life, you don't know anything about like processes, QA, clients, services, anything like that. I mean, you can work it out as you go along, but it's obviously a bit more difficult. You're more likely to sort of trip up along the way. And you just haven't got that experience with a big wide range of clients. So I'd say that I think it's important to go get a job before you go freelance.
Yeah.
And you've just got to practice. I am one of those copywriters. Like I know a lot of copywriters don't agree with it, but I read copywriting books and like brand strategy books and things like that. And I do think it helps because I think my copy used to be like, I was more about it being creative and funny and a bit whimsical. Whereas now I'll swap something out, even if it's creative or I think it's clever, I'll swap it out for something that I think is actually going to perform better. So I think you've actually got to read these books. You've got to work through some exercises. I'm not that against doing free work. I'm against businesses asking for free work as part of, if you want to work for us, you've got to do this task first. But I think if you're a new copywriter, like do yourself a brief and put it out there. Because I think you just need to just practice.
It's that whole really, it's that saying of practice makes perfect. It's a cringe overused saying, but it's true. It is very true. And I really like your point of go and get a job before you go freelance, because you need to learn how to be corporate. That's not something that just kind of comes naturally. There's almost you need to learn how to become professional in a way, because it's not a natural thing, especially straight out of uni. I certainly wasn't.
Exactly. And it's just understanding the value of having like systems in place and clients on board and clients off board and all that kinds of stuff, which obviously you can learn it as you go, but I think you need to go work for someone really before you go, even if it's just for like a year. Do you know what I mean? Just get the experience under your belt first.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important. It's very important. But that's our advice for copywriters. Go and get a job.
Get a job.
Get a job. For newer copywriters, I should say. So moving away from actual work-related things, I'd love to know, with your writing, whether it's work-related, whether it's something that you just do for fun, is there a writer that you particularly admire? And it could be anybody, a novelist, a songwriter, whoever.
I mean, I'm listening to a lot of Rodriguez at the moment, which is an unreal songwriter. But if you're talking about like copywriting and marketing and things, I love Cole Schaefer, if you've heard of him.
I don't think I have.
So I think he's in the States and he runs an agency called Honey Copy. I'm pretty sure he used to be freelance and now he's got an agency. his words are actual poetry. Anytime he sends an email, like, they're usually quite long, but like I will sit and just devour every single word. Like, you can just tell I think he's got one of those really like old school styles of copywriting where he'll sit up all night with a bottle of whiskey to get a client brief out, but then it'll be something, he'll come up with something amazing on the other end. Yeah, his stuff is incredible. Some of it's a little bit risque, but it's just all stunning. It's just lovely to read. It is actual poetry.
I can't say I've ever heard of him, but I will go and seek him out. I really like that question because it's just I like to get recommendations for things to read for all sorts of things. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
No worry. Have a look at his website. It's Honey Copy. And then, definitely sign up for his emails.
I just would love to know, moving back to work-related things, has there been a particular compliment that's really stood out to you about your work?
So I collect kind words and put them on my homepage. If people have just said them in an email or things like that, rather than, I feel like testimonials can be a little bit they look a bit forced. I do collect testimonials, but they can look a little bit forced. So a project I worked on at the start of this year, the client was like, "You're a magician," which I loved because I felt like he was like, "You just got everything I wanted," and it's like I just felt like I was like psychic, and I just felt so aligned with the client. I was happy that he thought, okay, she's just taken everything that I wanted and put it onto the page. I've got one testimonial on my homepage where the client says, "I want to cry. This is so powerful. It is above and beyond my expectations." I can't remember what project that was from, but it was obviously a good one. And then I generally like sweary testimonials. I effing love it. Always. That's when they're like serious about it.
Yeah, when somebody's so impassioned about something they start swearing, that's amazing. It's always, I love to ask that because it's just like I feel like copywriters, we tend not to take minutes to recognize wins and recognize like, oh god, we did such a good job with this piece of work, or we made this client so happy. So it's just nice to hear everybody kind of actually go, yeah, no, actually I'm great.
Yeah. And it's easy to not believe clients as well when they say they like something. Massively
so. Yeah, massively so. I struggle when I struggle with compliments anyway. I feel like it's the most British thing in the world to not be able to accept a compliment and to be like, "Oh no, I mean, yes, thank you, I appreciate that, but what a great brief you gave me."
It was all you.
It was all you, really. I struggle with it in the same way that we all do, but also I love to look at it later down the line and go, yeah, actually, I'm really proud of that. And
you've got to collect
nice
them.
feeling.
I've got a folder on my computer.
Just of all testimonials and
like
reviews.
Me.
That's great. That's really, I love that because it's just the most like self-celebratory thing that you can do in the least like narcissistic way possible. It's just, I love that.
It's fine, but it's good to look at as well if you are having doubts, or maybe it's a good motivator if you're thinking, oh god, this project's a bit bigger than like I've bit off more than I can chew. If you read sort of times when you've thought that before and it's all worked out fine, that can give you a nice little boost and be like, oh, hang on, I'll be able to do it.
So we're moving on now just to the last two questions, and these are two that I ask everybody at the end of each episode. So the first one, I listen to a lot of all kinds of different music when I'm writing, and it could be anything from like ambient to like really droning shoegaze. I like a lot at the minute. So I'm just wondering, have you got any recommendations for things to listen to? It could be a podcast, an album, whatever. So I just want to know, what should we be listening to?
I'm like you, to be honest, when I do mix it up. I listen to quite a bit of like minimal house stuff. If there's too many words, I think sometimes on a Friday I do a lot of my own marketing, and then I'll listen to like pop.
Yeah.
I mean, from like when I was a kid, it's not today's pop. I'm talking like Sugababes.
Yeah.
Things like that. So I can have a little dance and a sing song, but the rest of the time I'll keep it pretty minimal. Just otherwise I'll get distracted and I'll start singing and dancing.
Nice. I had a big Girls Aloud hit last year when they were on tour, so it was that was all I was listening to. It was it was great. Lastly, this has been Amy, it's been amazing to have you on. I'm so grateful that you could take the time to be with us and join us today. So I just want to know, where can people find you and your work online?
So my website is thecopyhouse.uk. So yeah, that's probably the best place. I've got a newsletter which you can sign up for as well on there. And then on LinkedIn, Amy Hawthorne, you'll be able to dig me out.
Amazing. Well, everybody go and find Amy on LinkedIn, go and find her website. Amy, it's been amazing to have you on. I'm so appreciative that you could take the time to be here, as I said, and I will probably say it a million times. I'm not very good at ending these yet. So, because it's like a really unnatural way of me going, thanks so much, thanks so much, thanks so much. I will get good at it. I have to. I have no other choice. But yeah, so that wraps us up for today. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one. And I always end these by saying, did you copy that? So I'm just going to say it now. It's awkward to cue it up, but did you copy that?